Welcome to the Omniverse as discovered by Alfred Lambremont Webre, a 30-minute weekly audiovisual free series released Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, and 1 AM GMT. You can watch each episode free 24/7 at ExopoliticsTV and newsinsideout.com. Here's a statement from your host and producer, Alfred Lambremont Webre. That's me. The universe, the multiverse, and the omniverse. These are the three principal cosmological bodies through which humanity comprehends the cosmos. The universe, an organic singularity of time, energy, space, and matter, was discovered by the Sumerian astronomers in 3500 to 3200 BC. The multiverse, the totality of all universes, was discovered by the American scientist William James in 1895, who is known as having named it in the history of science. The omniverse, the integrated whole of the multiverse and the spiritual dimensions of the intelligent civilization of souls, spiritual entities, and source, some call it God, but that has religious connotations, was first formally proven in two independent science-based books, respectively, in 2014 by David Bertolacci and scientist Alfred Lambremont Webre, yours truly. Scientific discoveries are often simultaneously made in different parts of the world by different people, and the discovery of the Omniverse in 2014 is such an example. Each 30-minute episode of the Omniverse as discovered by Alfred Lambremont Webre will include a live reading from the book, The Omniverse. You can learn more about the Omniverse at the Omniverse, Transdimensional Intelligence, Time Travel, the Afterlife, and the Secret Colony on Mars. That's available at Amazon, at exopolitics.com, at newsinsideout.com, and many other outlets online, and you can order it at your local bookstore. So let us begin. So let's start at the beginning of the discovery of the Omniverse. Now, my journey in mapping the Omniverse came to a significant threshold in Barcelona, Spain, on a bright day in July 2009. That day, Ima Sanchez, a veteran journalist with La Vanguardia, the leading Catalan newspaper and top newspaper in Spain, interviewed me for her full-page column, La Contra. I was on a book tour of Spain as part of the launch of the Spanish edition of my book, Exopolitics, Politics, Government, and Law in the Universe. That book, its online edition, which was published in 2001 as a free ebook, actually launched the science, the new science of exopolitics, which is the science of relations among intelligent civilizations in the multiverse. And the soft cover, which followed Exopolitics, Politics, Government, and Law in the Universe, which followed in 2005, I've learned was time traveled by Sega time travel technology by DARPA and the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency from sometime after 2005 back to 1971 or before. I know of at least one meeting in 1966 with Governor Winthrop Rockefeller at Yale Law School Faculty Lounge, in which he probably had knowledge of the Exopolitics book. And And that was time traveled back to 1971 to the secret time travel project of the CIA and of DARPA, where it was witnessed by at least 3 witnesses, one of whom, a chrononaut who was then a childhood participant, Andrew D. Bashago, notified me in 2005 that he had witnessed the book in the company of 2 other people, one of whom was a member of the CIA time travel team in 1971. This was, he was sitting around a table and they brought him a satchel in which secret items brought back from the future, and out popped this book, Exopolitics by Alfred Lambremont Webre, brought from the future, was there. And I can confirm that, I can corroborate that, because in 1971, I was the general counsel of the Environmental Protection Administration of the city of New York under Mayor John Lindsay. And I was invited to speak, to give, under the pretenses of giving a lecture on the environment, to about 50, we were to learn, 50 or so Department of Defense and CIA officials who had been briefed on the fact that their secret time travel technology had retrieved my book, Exopolitics from the Future, through time travel surveillance technology. They had been briefed on me and on my book, on my future activities, perhaps even this video. There's a lot of speculation as to why they would have done that. So this is part of the research background that I had on how technology and teleportation capabilities are used in navigation and communication throughout the Omniverse, in the universe, in the multiverse, and the Omniverse. Well, back to the history of discovery of the Omniverse, but that's sort of an anecdote of how the Omniverse was discovered and sort of the ins and outs and journey of discovery that I've had over the past 40 plus years, since my entire life, but formally since I would say my formal education, when there were interventions through time travel and other elites that used time travel for political control. Now, toward the end of the interview in July 2009 with Irma Sanchez in Barcelona at La Vanguardia, in the small conference room at La Vanguardia's Barcelona headquarters, Irma put down her pen and turned off her tape recorder. She turned to me and pointedly asked, "Alfred, ¿cómo funciona el universo? ¿Cuál es la relación entre los extraterrestres y la reencarnación del alma humano?" Translated into English, Irma Sanchez's questions mean, "Alfred, how does the universe function? What is the relationship between extraterrestrials and the reincarnation of the human soul?" As Irma asked her questions, I recognized that she was asking me to address specifically those key issues that most humans, philosophers, scientists, priests, and earthly religions have struggled to answer for millennia without much objective success scientifically. It dawned on me in that moment that Irma was pointing to a next pathway of empirical research into how intelligent civilizations in the physical multiverse relate to each other and to the larger community of intelligent civilization of souls, spiritual beings, and source. I returned to Madrid after speaking in Barcelona. At my hotel in Madrid, on my way back to Vancouver, BC, I pondered the relationships between extraterrestrials and the soul, and scribbled notes to myself on hotel notepaper about the basic similarities in communication and transportation between humans and extraterrestrials in this universe, and between humans and souls in the afterlife. There were structural parallels between those two fields of inquiry in how information about them is organized, and yet no one, as far as I knew, had ever looked explicitly at those patterns. A second important threshold occurred shortly afterward in August 2009, when an editor for Oxford University Press, a division of Oxford University in the UK, asked me to write a book applying, quote, the principles of international law to extraterrestrial contact, end of quote. In order to write a book on that subject, I realized I would have to first define what the term, quote, intelligent extraterrestrial civilizations means. And at this point, I discovered that no adequate typology of such civilizations had yet been developed. As I worked to develop a new typology for extraterrestrial civilizations and extraterrestrial governance bodies, I realized that it provided an evidentiary and conceptual foundation for mapping the many dimensions of the Omniverse. Now, an introduction to a map of the Omniverse. A map of the Omniverse. To enter into this daunting field, let us begin with some helpful definitions. First of all, what is the Omniverse? To understand that, we need to begin with the multiverse. The multiverse is defined as the total of all universes, including our own, and is thought to encompass, quote, all space, time, matter, and energy. Let me repeat that. All space, time, matter, and energy. Cosmologists Richard L. Amoroso and Elizabeth A. Rauscher write, generally, multiverse, sometimes called meta-universe or megaverse, is the hypothetical set of multiple possible universes, including our Einstein-Hubble universe, that together comprise all of reality. The structure of the multiverse, the nature of each constituent universe, and the connection between them depends on the particular multiverse hypothesis being considered by the theory. But the term universe is supposed to represent the entirety of all existence. However, with usages like, quote, Mr. Tompkins' universe, end of quote, or the universe of the ant, one has become accustomed to the idea of many universes, at least in the common vernacular. Interestingly, American psychologist William James first coined the term multiverse in 1895. In scientific circles, many disparate definitions of the multiverse exist, such as parallel universes, bubble universes, alternate realities, as in Everett's many worlds interpretation of quantum theory containing every possibility, or the extension of string theory known as M theory, where our universe and others are purported to be created by collisions between membranes in an 11-dimensional space. the total number of universes besides our own estimated to exist in the multiverse is staggering. Physicists Andre Linde and Vitaly Vachurin of Stanford University recently calculated that the total number of such universes in the simplest inflationary models may exceed a number that can be written as 10 raised to the 10th power, raised to the 10th power, raised to the 7th power. 10 to the 10th to the 10th to the 7th. Now, this is a deceptively compact notation. First of all, 10 to the 7th is 1 with 7 zeros after it. That is 10 million. Next, 10 raised to the 10 millionth power, that is 10 to the 10 millionth, is a 1 with 10 million zeros after it. Written out with 6 zeros to the inch, it would stretch about 26 miles. But the next step, raising 10 to the power of that 26-mile number, generates a number so large that we cannot name it, let alone write it out. It would stretch for at least 260 million miles. What this means is that the number of universes in our multiverse is so large that if we went to write it out in 12-point type, that number alone would be at least 260 million miles long. Begin to grok that and understand that you're watching this sitting in one of those universes, sitting on one planet inside a solar system at the edge of a galaxy inside one of those universes. And we'll get to that later. Linde and Vachurin also said this humongous number is so strongly model dependent and may change when one uses different definitions of what is the boundary of eternal inflation. To the concept of the multiverse, we need to add that the universes of the multiverse are here collectively termed exopolitical dimensions. Let me add that. The universes of the multiverses are here collectively termed exopolitical dimensions, which highlights their function as a base for intelligent civilizations. Because what do intelligent civilizations do in the universes in the multiverse? They do exopolitics. The science of exopolitics is the study of relations between intelligent civilizations in the multiverse. Finally, to arrive at a comprehensive understanding of what we mean by omniverse, one more aspect needs to be considered. That aspect has always been in the area of faith or belief. However, with the discovery of the omniverse, that aspect enters into the realm of science. In other words, replicable data. Replicable data. Uniform protocols, replicable results. And that aspect is the spiritual dimensions. The spiritual dimensions, which include the intelligent civilization of souls, spiritual beings, and source, or alternatively God, which has religious connotations over the ages, and religion is based on faith or revealed texts, not science. The Omniverse thus expands on the conventional scientific definition of the multiverse as consisting solely of parallel physical universes of time, space, energy, and matter. Let me repeat that for everybody out there in the audience. The universe expands on the conventional scientific definition of the multiverse as consisting solely of parallel physical universes of time, space, energy, and matter. The spiritual dimension of the Omniverse provides the energy that scientists such as Lawrence M. Krauss, author of A Universe from Nothing, cannot account for, needed for the creation and maintenance of each physical universe in the multiverse. The Omniverse is the sum of the multiverse plus the spiritual dimensions. In other words, all that is. Our understanding of the Omniverse can be expressed as two fundamental equations. Multiverse equals sum of all physical universes. Multiverse equals sum of all physical universes. Omniverse, second equation, Omniverse equals multiverse plus spiritual dimensions. Omniverse equals multiverse, all of the universes, plus the spiritual dimensions, which are the intelligent civilization of souls, spiritual beings, and source. These equations are the basis for the hypothesis I have termed the dimensional ecology of the Omniverse. Ecology is defined as, quote, the scientific analysis and study of interactions among organisms and their environment. Dimensional ecology, then, is, quote, the analysis and study of interactions among organisms and their environment in interlocking dimensions of existence, including the universes of the multiverse and the spiritual dimensions. Now, let's take a look at the hypothesis of the dimensional ecology of the Omniverse. This hypothesis is based on the understanding that dimensionality, the ability of intelligence to organize itself via dimensions or discrete bands of conscious energy, is a key criterion by which the Omniverse is designed in both the spiritual dimensions and the exopolitical dimensions. According to this hypothesis, our human civilization on Earth is but one of many intelligent civilizations based in parallel dimensions and universes in the multiverse, along with the intelligent civilizations of souls and spiritual beings, as well as Source or God in the spiritual dimensions. By souls, I mean individuated, non-local, conscious, intelligent entities that are based in the dimensions of the afterlife. Spiritual beings are similarly individuated, non-local, conscious, and intelligent entities that are based in alternative locations of the spiritual dimensions, and are created by a different process than souls and have a different spiritual destiny. Typically, spiritual beings do not reincarnate within the universes of the multiverse, but rather tend and minister to souls that are in some type of process, such as reincarnating. One way of stating the hypothesis is to say that we earthling humans live within an omniverse that encompasses both exopolitical dimensions consisting of our known physical universe and multiple parallel universes within which are based extraterrestrial and hyperdimensional intelligent civilizations. Let me repeat that. Exopolitical dimensions consisting of our known physical universe and multiple parallel universes within which are based extraterrestrial and hyperdimensional intelligent civilization. Our omniverse encompasses both exopolitical dimensions consisting of our known physical universe and multiple parallel universes within which are based extraterrestrial and hyperdimensional intelligent civilizations. It also includes spiritual dimensions consisting of the quote afterlife and quote interlife and other spiritual dimensions within which are based the intelligent civilizations of souls and spiritual beings, as well as a defined source or God. A hypothesis is, by accepted definition, an educated guess based on observation. Usually a hypothesis can be supported or refuted through experimentation or more observation. A hypothesis can be disproven but not proven to be true. The dimensional ecology hypothesis is a guide to intelligent life in the omniverse. It is an educated guess based on observations such as witness testimony, data, and cases of how, where, and why intelligent life exists in all of the omniverse. It is supported by the jurisprudential law of evidence that employs witness, documentary, and experimental evidence. And for this segment, that is as far as we're going to go in terms of the reading. I would like to just reiterate that the universe, the multiverse, and the omniverse are the three principal cosmological bodies through which humanity comprehends the cosmos. The universe, an organic singularity of time, energy, space, and matter, was discovered by the Sumerian astronomers, according to conventional history, around 3500 to 3200 BC. The multiverse, the totality of all universes, was discovered by the American scientist William James in 1895, according to the History of Science. And the omniverse, the integrated whole of the multiverse and the spiritual dimensions of the intelligent civilization of souls, spiritual entities, and source was first formally proven in 2014 in 2 independent science-based books, respectively by David Bertolacci and by Alfred Lambremont Webre. Scientific discoveries are often simultaneously made in different parts of Earth by different people at the same time, and the discovery of the Omniverse is such an example. If you would like to learn more about the Omniverse, you can through the book, The Omniverse, Transdimensional Intelligence, Time Travel, the Afterlife, and the Secret Colony on Mars. You can obtain that at Amazon.com, either in Kindle ebook or in textbook. These are at discount prices now. And I hope you enjoyed our inaugural episode of the Omniverse as discovered by Alfred Lambremont Webre. Our next episode will air next Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. GMT, and every Friday thereafter. Thank you, and may you have a wonderful day, night, and week. Thank you.